this is Crowmar with TGN, welcoming you to another World of Warcraft Cataclysm beta video. Today we're going to go over the new Atramedes encounter in Blackwing Descent. This one was opened up for raiding. It was opened up pretty late though, and we had a little bit of trouble assembling a raid. Most of the guildies that I wanted to get were not on. We only got a couple people from the guild, and had to pick up a lot of people. And as usual, that presented a problem. But anyway, before I get to the encounter, the trash pulls here are really easy and simple, but there's not very many of them, which is good. That Drake there just stacks a fire debuff that causes you to take increased damage from fire, but it stacks very slowly, so really you should not have any problem with it. With these guys, for the first pull, I decided to mark the Core Hound. I thought they would be tougher, but they really aren't. The Slayers do have a small cleave. It's really inconsequential, but if you're if you're worried about it, you can just turn the guy around. It's not a big deal. But I do recommend killing the Slayer first, actually, after doing a couple of these trash pulls. After this group goes down, there's 2 more pulls after that, or something like that. Also, keep in mind that these are pats, so you do have to be careful where you pull them. You obviously don't want to aggro these guys on you while you're fighting the Drake. That's all there is to these trash mobs. Next, you have kind of a fun, interesting encounter with these trash mobs here. These are all 4 different dwarves. They each have a different ability. When you kill one, they heal the others and then give them their new ability. They give them their old ability, I mean. So the last guy you kill is going to have all 4 abilities. Does that remind you of anything? Yes, that's AQ40 trash mobs. Haven't seen that in a while. But the difference between AQ40 trash mobs and these guys is that these guys are absolutely trivial. They are just a non-entity, so they're nothing to them at all. One time on one of these pulls, even with me solo tanking, I actually died on the opening pull just because, I don't know, no one healed me. But we were still able to kill all 4 of them without a tank, so that's how easy they are. But the thing, because they heal when one dies, you don't want to AoE them at all. We just AoE tanking, of course, but you just want to single target them down for that reason. But that does make them a little bit annoying. But anyway, there's 2 groups of them, one on the left, one on the right, so you just want to kill all 8 of them, and then you can get ready for the boss. So on to Atramedes. He pulls first by clicking that bell, and he'll summon, but he doesn't actually aggro on you right away. You gotta actually pull him. But anyway, this is an interesting boss. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's practically a tank and spank, but with only one mechanic that you have to even think about. And other than that, it's actually very easy. But we had a hard time with it because, well, I mentioned before that we didn't have a guildy run, so that became a problem for us. But anyway, the way this boss works, you only need 1 tank, so have one of your tanks volunteer to go DPS or heals. And the way this tank works is he's essentially he's blind, right? And he works off of sound. That you see that little UI thing underneath me? That's not an add-on or anything, that's built in. That's the sound meter. When that fills up, you pretty much die. And different things that happen during the fight will increase your sound, and there's a mechanic to reduce your sound. Now this is our first attempt. We go in blind, and he just killed everyone. So there you go. That's what happens when your sound gets too high. So let's talk about what this sound thing really is. It looks and sounds like it's a new mechanic entirely, or it has its own little fancy raid UI, which is awful, but I'll get back to that later. And it seems to be just totally different than anything you've seen. Okay, well, here's the thing. It really isn't different. It's just a redress of Yogg-Saron's insanity. Instead of ticking down from 100, it ticks up to 100. But otherwise, it's the same. He has several abilities which cause you to gain tons of sound, and there's a mechanic you can use to drop your sound. If you mess up and you allow your sound to get to 100, he absolutely destroys you. And I'll show you an example of that on the next pull, I believe. But anyway, you get rid of the sound by hitting these gongs. There's 8 gongs, and you can hit each one time. There's certain points in the fight when you really do need to hit a gong. Take a look at the raid health. You saw how much damage we just took? That was from Searing Flame, and you can still see that on your screen there for a second. The Searing Flame is a channeled ability that does massive fire damage that increases. It does 5 ticks. Each tick also gives you a debuff that increases fire damage taken. So the longer it goes, the more damage you take. You need to hit the gong when that happens. What happens is when you hit the gong, it stuns the boss, and interrupts the Searing Flame, it also gets rid of all your sound, which is, you know, a great side effect. That's what you really needed to do. But you have to be very careful and not overuse the gong. Like I mentioned, you only get 8; they don't respawn. The other ability, you just saw that little burst of explosion of sound waves, is called modulation. That increases your sound and does damage. So that's something you can't avoid. So it's just like the same ability, I can't remember the name, with Yogg-Saron. It just gives everybody a little bit of insanity. Or reduces your sanity by a little bit. That's the same thing here. It just increases your sound by a little bit, and it makes it so that you can't avoid getting some sound. Now after a while, he goes to an air phase. This is timed, not percentage-wise, by the way. While he's in the air phase, he does several abilities. The most important one is the fire beam, of course. The fire beam chases whoever has the highest sound, and it seems to go faster the higher your sound is. So what you need to do is get rid of that sound by hitting a gong. So you use one gong in the ground phase for Searing Flame, one gong in the air phase at the very beginning. And after that, you're fine. As long as nobody does anything to get any more sound during the air phase, then you're going to be okay. You also saw those fire whirlpools, and there was a little white bombs dropping in. Those are called sonar bombs. Sonar bombs increase your sound and deal damage. Don't get hit by those, please. You have to keep moving. And I'll show some better examples of the best way to run around later. He's also cast Sonic Breath. You see it right there. It's a channeled breath. The reason he's rotating so fast is he got a target. Once he hits someone with Sonic Breath, their sound goes way up, and he sort of, I guess you could say, he starts tracking them. So if nobody gets hit by the Sonic Breath, then their sound doesn't go up, and he doesn't rotate fast, and that's what you got to do. Don't get hit by the Sonic Breath. It's really, really easy. So that being said, now I'm going to show you an example of me screwing up and getting hit by the Sonic Breath. I'm proud to say this is the only time I do this, but I just want to show you what it's like to get hit by the Sonic Breath and why it's so hard to avoid it after it's tagged you. It's also going to show you what happens when you get your sound meter up. Keep in mind that Sonic Breath, I want to reiterate, once it hits you, he starts tracking you and your sound starts skyrocketing. It's pretty much a death sentence. So here's the Sonic Breath. You notice I didn't move. I finally started moving, but I've already been tagged, so it's too late. And he's going to start following me. Now, he hits me like 3 times. My sound fills up, and then he just absolutely blows me up. So there's no way to heal through that. That's death. So that was totally my fault. But I just wanted to show that as an example of what not to do and what happens if you mess up and hit the Sonic Breath. So let's jump straight into the next attempt here. Jumping in at about 75%. We have lost a healer. We did take a lot of damage from a Searing Flame, I believe, is what did that. But that's okay. This is actually wound up being our best attempt. And the main thing that helped us here is we used a gong on the air phase. As you can see, there's a laser chasing the guy, but it's not able to kill him because his sound is low enough that it's slow. That's really the key. That's what makes all the difference. If he had hit a sonar, one of these sonar bombs, you see the little white bombs dropping into the fire whirlpools. If he had hit one of those, his sound would have gone way up, and the beam would have killed him. And we also used a gong there. I think somebody had gotten their sound up and was worried, or something along those lines, or maybe we were just panicking and hit it because we didn't really know what was going on. But we did have a designated gong hitter, and we were able to battle res the priest as well. So now we've got a full raid. Everyone's alive, everyone's healthy. Only problem is we did use up way too many gongs, so we're not going to be able to finish the encounter. Wasting your gongs on stupid stuff like we're about to in just a moment here is a sure way to lose. Because once you run out of gongs, you're basically screwed. So there we go. Yeah, there's the stun for no reason. I think somebody had gotten their sound up and they were worried or something. So again, the times you do want to use it are for Searing Flames and for the air phase, once in the air phase. We also tried things like using it on the Sonic Breath, but that's so trivial to avoid. It's a complete waste. There's no need to do that at all. It's also not a good idea to use it if somebody gets their meter up high and they're worried. Just because it's close doesn't mean that you should be worried. Okay, there's a Searing Flame, there's a gong. So our guy did a great job of picking up those Searing Flames. Anyway, just because your meter's high is not a problem, not something you need to worry about. You just need to not take hits that cause your sound to go up any more than it already is. And what you need to do is just kind of last until the next time that we're going to be using the gong automatically. What I mean is, if your sound is up high, don't panic. There will be a Searing Flame coming up soon. As soon as that activates, they're going to gong, and that's going to save you. Now, someone just died, and then the priest is about to get pegged by the 100th sound death. Yeah, there it goes. What happened was the hunter stood in the fire, didn't move at all, didn't move a muscle, and that's not the only time that happened. And then what happens is the priest was also way too close to the fire, didn't move, so both of them got tons of sound. the hunter got the brunt of it and died like instantly, and then the priest got his sound up to 100, then he got incinerated. So we just had 2 deaths due to 1 sonic breath because of 2 people not moving. And this is really characterizes this run. If you're planning on doing this with your guild, you're going to have no problem. If your guild has done other raids and you have people who aren't baddies and they don't stand in the fire, you're going to be fine, because that's all this raid is. And so here we go. He's going to land again. Now with 3 people dead, we did pretty good. I mean, this is our best attempt, and everything was very smooth up until the people died. And we did waste gongs. It's true. We probably wouldn't have won because of the gong wasting, but if we hadn't wasted the gongs and if we didn't lose people to attrition, then we would have won because the strategy was sound. We used the gong on the Searing Flames, we used a gong in the air, and avoid the sonic breath. Now somebody has the sound up really high right now because we don't know how many more gongs to hit, so that causes the tracking to... so what they did was they tried to run through him, and he still tracked them, and that caused everybody else to gain their sound from the sonic breath. But it doesn't matter now because it's done. So I'm just looking through my combat log since we're at our gongs, and it's just a matter of time until he does a Searing Flame and wipes us. Yeah, there's the Searing Flame. So there we go. Yeah, that's what happens if you allow a Searing Flame, in case I don't think I've showed that so far. It absolutely destroys your raid. So let's skip ahead to the middle of the next pull. He's about to lift off, and notice how my sound meter just dropped from almost full to 0. It's because we hit a gong at the very start of the air phase, and that to help take care of that. Now, I'm going to show you just how I like to run around here. I just keep moving, run around the edge, try not to cross paths with people, because whenever you do, you put yourself at risk. Notice how one of the fire whirlpools drops at their feet, so you might run into a whirlpool that way. I also took a hit because I was too close to it. So you just want to avoid people, stay away, keep moving, and if the fire beam focuses on you, because if you're doing this right, it'll never focus on you. I literally never had the fire beam on me because my sound was always so low, because I wasn't a dummy. I didn't stand in the fire. But if you are a dummy and you stand in the fire, you'll get the beam every time, and you'll feel like it's picking on you. So if you want to avoid having the beam, don't get sound. If everybody does a good job avoiding the beam, then it's just going to pick someone at random and chase that person very slowly. So as you run around the room, it'll be easy to avoid. Now, to be honest, this is a very easy boss, and it's just don't stand in the fire, don't stand in front of the dragon's face. The fire comes out of its face. That kind of deal. It's not something something you've done a million times. It's nothing new, and the sound meter isn't anything new. Now, I mentioned earlier about this UI being terrible, so I want to talk about that. If there's one thing they can change to improve this encounter, it's the UI. It's terrible. This little circle. Let me go over. I don't even know where to start. Okay, first of all, you can't really tell how much sound you have at any given time. You only have an estimate. It doesn't actually tell you. It doesn't give you a number, whereas a stacking debuff would. Okay, and then once it fills up, it's unclear. Is it full or not? Well, it doesn't really fill up until the yellow circle highlights. But I guess 99, if you're at 99, the yellow circle's not highlighted. 100 it is? Who knows? I don't know. It's really stupid. So forget that UI. It's terrible. I'm sure someone will come up with a better one. But the other thing that's horrible about it is that it's unmovable. It just sits there. It's in prime UI real estate. Everybody in the raid said it's screwed with their add-ons, and a lot of people have been messing with add-ons and things like that, UI add-ons, getting their interface add-ons and whatnot. And there's no excuse for this. This should be fixed immediately. It should not go live like this. I know somebody worked very hard to create the art, but they need to do something with it. They need to move the position to the top middle, or they need to just get rid of it entirely and just create a debuff, a stacking debuff from 0 to 100. That's all you need. It makes it much more clear how you're gaining the stacks, where you're gaining them from, how much you're gaining, stuff like that. Whereas from the circle, who knows? And it doesn't even update immediately. It has this weird thing where when you gain a bunch of sound, it slowly fills up, like an energy bar or something. I don't know. It was very obnoxious, and hopefully that gets fixed. But other than that, the fight's fine. The mechanics are very clear and very obvious. We've all done this a million times. Even if you haven't done Yogg Saron, the thing is obvious. You have a meter. If it fills up, you die. So don't let it fill up. That's all there is to it. So anyway, this is the final attempt I'm going to show. I think we had a couple more before we called it. I'm really sorry that this is not a kill video, but we couldn't do it. We had to call it. But anyway, so that's it for Atramedes. To recap, don't stand in the fire. have one guy hit a gong during the Searing Flames, and then again during the air phase once, and then collect your loot, and that's all there is to it. Well, that does it for Atramedes. Thank you for watching. As always, please rate, please comment, and please subscribe.